This is episode 24 with Tim Bush.
So let's go, I follow, wherever you go, 'cause
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of the Inventions show, where entrepreneurs, influencers and authorities in their field today share their story of triumphs and challenges in both life and business. My name is TACKlee and the host of this show. Now, today, I'm super excited to be speaking with Tim Bush, founder of TLB Consulting, a retail guru, coach, and mentor who helps individuals and product entrepreneurs get their products on the shelf of major big box retailers such as Costco and Walmart, just to name a few. Simply mind-changing, life-changing, and business-changing. So without further ado, welcome to the show, Tim, and thanks so much for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. That's a great introduction. I'm going to have you start doing my introductions for me on my podcast. That was
welcome.
Nice.
Just let me know.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Now, the first thing I like to ask all my guests, Tim, for those who are not familiar with yourself, is can you please give us a window into your background and who you are and what was your first job?
All right. So first job was I delivered auto parts for an auto part store in my hometown. And I think I had to have a driver's license. So I was barely 16 when I got that job. So yeah, that was my first job. My background has all been, my entire life has been in retail in some way, shape or form. I went straight to retail out of college. And worked my way up through. I worked for a bunch of different retailers like Bed Bath & Beyond, Barnes & Noble, Office Depot, Toys R Us. And I kind of, I've been on the floor of big box retailers. So I understand how the product gets sold in the store. And then later in my career, I moved myself into wholesale because I wanted to know a little bit more about how products got on the shelf of the retailers that I was working with. And so I did wholesale. And then in 2009, I started my own company, TLB Consulting, and I've been doing that ever since.
Awesome. So as you mentioned, Tim, you started your career in the corporate world, and held like multiple high positions. So how did your passion, I guess, for startups begin? And in particular, the product space? Is it just from college, from a bit younger? And have you always been entrepreneurial?
Yeah, I don't think so. Honestly, it happened mostly out of, honestly, I want to say kind of desperation. In 2009, I was working as a VP of sales for a high-end robotic massage chair company. Our largest, my largest customer at the time was Sharper Image. And for those of you who know about Sharper Image, know that in 2008, they were sold and basically dismantled. And so that was a $100 million sales customer for us. And in 2008 was the beginning of, at the time, what we call like the biggest economic collapse of our generation. Obviously we didn't know the pandemic was coming, but and so that was just the start of it. And so in 2009, right after I got back from the CES show, I got laid off. And at the time, in early 2009, everybody was looking for a job. There were like hundreds of thousands of guys just like me looking for a job at the same time. So employers really had their pick, tall, short, it didn't matter. They could just like really made to order. And at the time, I had done such good business with Costco that the buyer there was pretty shocked. I can't believe you're not working there anymore. He said, but I do have a couple of customers, potential vendors that I want to do business with, but they don't really know anything. And he said, you know so much about us. He goes, would you be interested in consulting with them? He goes, I don't have the time to teach them what they need to know. And of course, I'm 2 days out of getting laid off. So I'm like, yeah, totally. I would do that. And I ended up working with both of the customers. Both of them got into Costco, but neither of them passed testing, which, is more about whether the consumer is going to buy the product or not. but it made me realize that there was a lot of people out there that wanted to do business in big retail. They just don't know how to do it. They don't know how to figure it out. That's just not, their strong suit. So that really was the launch of TLB Consulting.
Interesting.
So
Now,
it didn't happen because I was like this entrepreneurial spirit. It happened because I had to do that to, it was a way to feed my family.
yeah.
While, and you know what interesting about that was, at the same time during that downturn in the economy, salespeople across the board were getting laid off in hundreds of companies.
Yes.
Those same companies would turn around and hire me because I was a consultant, and on the profit and loss statement, my salary came out of a different place. So they had to reduce the cost of their what they considered to be their payroll, but they can turn around and have money in another area that they could hire me. So it was this weird
Circle of life.
circle of life. Yeah. And of course I got the bug straight away. I got the bug, to work for myself. At the time. My daughter was, I think, maybe she was just going into third grade, and I had never taken her to school her whole life yet. And I was always gone before she got up and home long after she had been back from school. But from third grade all the way till she stopped school, I took her to school every day and picked her up.
Totally
and so,
awesome.
and so that created quite a bond for us that still exists today. So I quickly became a fan of being my own boss, being an entrepreneur, setting my own hours, and being in charge of how much I do and don't make. And like I said, I've been doing it that way ever since.
Oh, fantastic. Now, Tim, you talked briefly about TLB Consulting, and I just want to go back to that, where you empower suppliers to change their world through their products and also, provide a concierge coaching experience. Can you please share with our listeners what TLB Consulting is about and your goals there?
Yeah, well, they change. Every year I kind of look at my business and say, is it relevant? Is it going to be relevant in 5 years? Am I doing what I want to be doing? Am I providing value service? So it's changed quite a bit over the years based on how the market has changed. But ultimately, I don't have the bug to make a product. I have a ton of ideas, but it's not my passion to actually go and find it and produce it and build it and sell it. I have a passion for helping people realize their dream of selling it, of seeing it on the shelf of a big retailer. That's what really fulfills me, is getting a PO, any PO, big or small, but helping one of my clients make a sale, get their product into a retailer. That's what really drives me day to day. And that's what TLB Consulting is all about. And so we do that in a lot of different ways, whether somebody actually hires my company to do the selling for them, or they hire my company to teach them how to do the selling, or they hire me as a personal coach, or they attend my VIP group, or they listen to my podcast. Everything that I do is all designed to do one thing, and that's help people get their products into big national retail chains so that those products can help change people's lives.
Most definitely.
So
in the world of online shopping, Tim, at the moment, and in these interesting times, where do you see retail going? And can you provide some insights there?
Yeah, I'm not a big sky is falling, like, oh my gosh, everything's going to be online. And no, I'm not, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that what we're going to see is a big increase in something called endless aisle, where retailers, you can still go into a retailer to buy, but they're going to increase their assortment through what they're calling now an endless aisle, which is really a fancy name for online. But I think that more and more retailers are going to morph into that experience in the store. So you can be in the store, you can shop and see what the product is, and you could take it with you right then. Or there's going to be a screen right next to that assortment that you can look at, and you can see, well, there's 3 colors in front of me, but on on the endless aisle, there's 100 different colors, and you can pick that and add it to your cart. You can still pay at the register, and some of that will be sent to you. Some of it you'll take with you. I think that we're going to see more and more retailers synergize to the online and the in-store experience together. So that's one. Secondly, and we've been talking a lot about this in the VIP group, which is about claims. Online has given rise to people being able to say their products do anything. And there's no accountability for what people are claiming that their products will and won't do. We're the world's first. We're the this. We're the that. Yep. Well, what I'm seeing in retail now is that retailers are literally making you, if you're going to get on, I'm in the middle of onboarding one of my clients into QVC right now, and our products that they're selling have to go through an extensive testing process to prove the claims that we make on the packaging. And I think more and more retailers are going to start to say, this is a differentiator, right? When you buy products in our store, you can be rest assured that we make our vendors prove their claims. It's not just the wild, wild west where you can say anything you want. Now, I think it's going to take a while before you can say that every product in a retailer had third-party lab tested to prove the claims. But I think that they're moving towards that. So, and I think that could be a differentiator for being on the shelf of a retailer as opposed to being online. But I'm sure every one of your listeners has bought something online that said it was a certain thing, and they get it home, and it's not really what they thought it was.
Yeah. I know I've definitely bought a couple of those. What? That's not even what it's meant to be doing.
It's not as big as I thought. And what do you mean it's the world's first? I just see 10 more items just like
exactly. No, awesome. So for those, getting into retail or with an interest of getting into retail, what would you say, how do you stand out on the shelf?
Yeah, you got to have some uniques, right? Amazon is all about copying what's popular at the moment. Yeah. So, macrame hangers are popular, so I'm going to make some more macrame hangers, and maybe I can throw my my product in the proverbial stream when it's flowing the fastest, and therefore I can make some money just by being part of the stream. Yeah. But the difference between that and retail is a set space. Every piece of property inside a retail space has a cost. So they need to turn so much money per square foot to be able to pay the rent and to pay the employees and to pay all these things that don't exist online. So in order for you to take that space, you have to, you don't have to, it's better if you do, have something that's different so that you can literally drive people to the category. And this is a big mistake people make when they think about going to retail is, I just want to put a product that's similar to the one that they're selling. Well, retailers don't want to cannibalize the sale. If this unit right here was selling 10 a month and I put this one up, now this one sells 5 and this one sells 5. Well, that doesn't help the retailer at all. What they want is to keep this product selling 10 a month, add your product, and your product now sells 5 a month. So combined, they're now selling 15 a month. And so in order for your product to drive sales to the category, there has to be something different about it, something unique about it. And then secondly, you have to have margin. Okay. You have to have money in your product so that you can be flexible and it can go on promotion. You can take, if you have to mark it down, you can. You can't have razor thin margins and expect to do business in big box retail.
Wow. In-depth insights. They're fantastic. Love it. Now, Tim, with decades of experience in the space, I want to quickly touch on product validation. A lot of people fall in love, as you mentioned, with their idea, but the end game is it going to make you money? That's what it's all about at the end. What is the best way, and what do you advise your students, in terms of validating their idea before, even thinking about, all right, we're going to take this to the next step?
Yeah, and by the way, I don't think I think if you're getting into selling products and your number one goal above all else is to make money, and how much money can you make, eventually you're going to set yourself up for a little bit of a fall. Your main goal should be changing things in some way, making things better in some way, or providing more the same product at a better price. The key thing you have to ask yourself is not, am I going to make money? Is, will I make money at the price that the customer will buy for it?
Yes.
Right. So I might think my product's worth $9.99, but maybe people will only buy it for $4.99. And at $4.99, am I going to make any money, or am I going to go broke? And so I think that there's a lot of different ways that you can validate your product. You can talk to people, you can do surveys, but the key thing is to detach yourself emotionally from your product, so that when you're asking people, you're not constantly defending it. You're just literally listening to what they say. If you have a pet product and you go into a pet store and you start talking to customers in there and say, hey, would this be interesting to you? And they're like, yeah. And you say, well, how much would you pay for it? And they say, I'd pay $3 for it. And what you want to say is, oh, okay, thank you. Not, are you kidding? Just $3? Oh my gosh, I think this product is worth so much more. When you ask people's opinion, listen to what they tell you, because it doesn't necessarily matter what you think, what your thoughts are, how much you think it's worth. It only really matters what they think it's worth and what they're willing to buy it for.
Yeah, no, that's gold. That's gold. I'm definitely should say, listeners, please take note of that one. And, I just want to move on to your journey as an entrepreneur now, Tim. And as all entrepreneurs know, it can be a lonely journey. How do you manage risk and fear?
Well, I'll tell you, I haven't always managed either of those things very well. I have done a lot of work, whether it's spiritual work or just learning more to control, I think, especially the fear, because when things go south, and they always will, at some point, one summer, 5 years ago, we lost almost 80% of all of our clients in one summer. It just was like this domino effect, and the reasons were all valid. We were out of money. We decided to stop. The reasons were all valid, but it just all came at the same time. And of course, everybody starts to spin right then. You start to go out of control. Oh, what was I thinking? What am I doing? I can't do this. I should go get a real job. And the way I stop that is, I have a pretty solid faith. And then secondly, I have a pretty solid why. I have a pretty solid why I do the things that I do, why I want to be an entrepreneur. And so when things get in my way, or fear starts to creep in, I ask myself, does my why still hold up? Is the reason I'm doing what I'm doing in the way that I'm doing it still valid? If it is, then going and getting a proverbial real job is not going to fix the situation. I just need to get back to work. And that's what I did in that summer. I jumped on social media. I upped the amount of podcasts I was doing, and it didn't take too much long before we had replaced most of those clients, and things were rolling. But in every entrepreneurial business, there's going to be ups and downs. You have to have a solid why for what you do, so that you can cling to that when things are tough. If you don't, you're just going to be subject to the ebb and flow of entrepreneurial business. And the other thing too is get yourself connected to other people like you. Like you said, entrepreneurship is lonely. And the reason it's lonely is because entrepreneurs think differently than other people. We act differently than other people. We are less risk adverse than most people. And so most people, they don't understand us. They think that we're foolish or taking too much risk, or what are you going to do, or how are you going to retire? It's just not this. So if you can get connected to a group of people that are entrepreneurs, they can also provide you a tremendous amount of strength and feedback, and help you through tough times, just like you'll help them through tough times as well. It's fun to talk to people that think the way you do.
Yes, most definitely. No, Awesome, awesome. So can you please share with us, Tim, your biggest area of growth in both life and business?
Gosh, I know you. Yeah, I mean, I think that probably understanding that in Jim Rohn is a huge favorite of
Yes,
mine
yep.
as far as books I read and things I listen to. And he said one of the things that sticks with me the most is work harder on yourself than you do at your job. And his whole reason behind that if you're constantly adding value to who you are, then you will constantly be worth more and more and more. You get paid when you're at an hourly job, you're getting paid an hourly rate. When you increase your value, you'll get paid more. And that's why, Tony Robbins, to be part of his personal mastermind, it's like $1 million a year. Well, is Tony Robbins personally worth $1 million a year to meet with him 4 times? Yeah, probably. Right. Because he's done the work and he's good at what he does. And obviously the value that he'll provide is worth that. But it seems silly to say, I'm going to meet with this guy 4 times a year and I'm going to pay $1 million to do that. It almost seems unrealistic. But the bottom line is you got to work, you got to continue to improve yourself. And so I didn't always realize that. I didn't always act that way. So I think that's my biggest growth opportunity. Both in personal and in business. If you want to have a fulfilling personal life, you have to also increase the value of that. If you want to have a better marriage, you have to put time into your marriage. Yes. You have to put effort into your marriage. You want to be a better, I like to sketch. You want to be better at sketching. Well, you got to put time into it. You got to schedule it. You want to be in better health. Well, you got to exercise. You got to put the time in to build the value in the things that you value. I think the hardest thing for people is that they don't know what they value. They don't know what they want.
I think you hit the nail there. Yeah, that's so true. People don't know what they want and what they value until sometimes it's too late, unfortunately.
Well, I don't think it's ever too unless you die, right? I don't think it's ever too late. But one of the first things when I'm mentoring somebody is the first things I'll ask them is, what is it you want? And that's always something that really stops them in their tracks. And they might throw out some quick things like, I want to be a millionaire. I want to do this. And then I'll say, well, why do you want to be a millionaire? Mm-hmm. Well, I want to be able to buy anything I want. Well, if you were a millionaire, what would you buy? Those kind of things really don't hold up. And when you really get down to what people want, it always generally comes down to something far more emotional. Like, I want to be happy. I want my family to have security. I want to be there for my kids. I want to be a good example. It always generally comes down to something far more raw than just, I want to be a millionaire. That generally doesn't hold up.
Yeah, no, so true, so true. So if you could go back to, I guess, your 18-year-old self, what would you tell him, Tim? Coach him.
I would say, I would tell him 2 things. See the little sphere that you live in. See this little town that you're in. That's not all that there is. There's so much more than that. So before you make a decision on what you want to do in your life and go out and explore a little bit. I probably would have not, if I could go back and do it again, I would not have gone to college right out of a high school. I probably would have gone and seen the world a little bit and got outside of my little town. Because, I didn't even know what a hedge fund was, or I didn't know that there's guys that drive trucks across vast amounts of ice. I didn't know that you could go fishing in Boston and make, thousands of dollars catching crab. I didn't know anything. My thing was so small. And so kids today, they don't have to worry about that because of the internet. When I was growing up, there was no internet. So I would tell them that one thing. And then the one piece of advice I give to every whenever I do a talk to people that are graduating college, I'll tell them the same thing. Start your own gig day one. Yes, still go out and get your corporate job, learn how to work for a boss and and spend that time understanding what it's like to be collaborative and work on a team, but also start your own gig, whatever it is, right now. And that way, when you find out that corporate America is not what you want, or you're getting married and you want to be more in control of your life, or you find out that job security is not what you thought it was going to be, this over here you'll be able to shift over to it. But a lot of times people tend to start their own gig, like I did, out of desperation, right? I don't have anything else to do. I can't do anything else. I got laid off. And so I tell them, no, figure out what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and do that on the side from the very beginning.
Wow, that is gold. Love that one. Okay, Tim, now I just want to, well, obviously you're a very highly successful entrepreneur now. I want to touch on turning point or points, when you look back at your entire life, everything that you have so far, your journey. Can you pinpoint, I guess, apart from, getting laid off, a point that changed everything for you, or is it more of like a collection of moments?
One point that changed everything. I'm not, as much as I read and I hear people when they talk about this light bulb moment, I don't think I had a light bulb moment. I think if there was any one thing, probably it was in that downturn 5 years ago when I lost all my clients and I realized that it's not the end of the world, and that I'm in control, not me personally, but I can control my own emotions, and I can't control the things that happen. And I know this is cliche, right? You can't control the things that happen, but you can control how you respond to those. That phrase actually became very real to me during that time. And I think I've worked really hard since then to try to understand myself better, what I'm good at, what I'm not good at, try to work on the things that I'm not good at. But there wasn't really one big like aha moment that I just was a game changer for me. Changing, moment, but it was, I think, like what you said, it's more of a series of things. I do evaluate my business every year. And I think that if you don't do that and you don't ask yourself the hard questions, like, is my business going to be relevant 5 years from now? And if it's not, and by the way, not 2020, but the end of 2018, I finally said to myself in that evaluation, no, I don't think that my business at its current status will be relevant in 5 years. And that's what prompted me to start increasing my coaching, increasing my courses, increasing some things that could be evergreen if something were to happen to me. Really, my business is me. So if something happens to me, there really is no TLB Consulting. So we've started working on things that can live past me. And part of living past me is working hand in hand with people, teaching them rather than doing it for them. And so I think it was that, there was that moment. And I think you have to ask yourself that. It's a hard question to ask, and it's even harder to be honest with yourself. But you really got to do it. Yeah. And, if I would tell your listeners anything, and I just recorded a podcast right before we jumped on this one. And I was talking about the word ponder, and I don't think people ponder anymore. I don't think people set aside time to just think about things and wonder about things and really mull it over in your mind. And the reason is because, and I told my daughter this the other day, I said, listen, in order for you to truly ponder something, you got to put your phone down. Yeah. Think about that. You may spend a little bit of time thinking about something, but in the background, pings are going off an email and somebody's texting you, and the 5,000 alerts I get that people are on Clubhouse, and it's this barrage of things. And so, in order for you to really think about your business, ponder your business, you have to shut things down and really just spend time doing that.
So true, so true. So, to what do you attribute your success, Tim?
Um, experience, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm not some extraordinary person. I do believe in myself. So I don't struggle to think that I'm not good at what I do. I don't have a problem with not believing in myself. If I have a problem, it's probably believing too much in myself. But all I've really done is worked hard and taken all the information that I've learned across the last 27 years of being in retail or around retail and condensed it down to help people do what I've already done. And the big difference between and why I'm successful or anybody like me can be successful is I'm not simply finding content on out there and then repackaging it and trying to give it to people and sell it to people. That's so prevalent right now. On your Facebook, people are advertising that they know how to do this, but the truth is they don't know how to do it. They only are trying to give you information. And where that falls apart is when you do what they say to do, and then it doesn't work out exactly right. They don't know how to coach you. And so
Yes.
When I teach somebody how to do something, it's only because I've been there. I've done it. It worked for me, or it didn't work, as the case may be. And, in my VIP group, we talk about real scenarios happening right now and how I'm actually dealing with those scenarios right now. It's not out of a book. It's not theoretical. It's real. And I think that's what comes across when people listen to me, when they talk to me. And I think that, by the grace of God, that's what's made me as successful, if you can call what I'm doing successful as I am. And I think, by the way, success is a journey. So I wouldn't say that I'm successful. I would say that I'm on my way to success, but it's a constant journey because every day I get better at something. Therefore, the bar gets pushed out a little bit. And
yeah. So is that how you define success for you? I mean, Tim, everyone has their own definition of success. So what does success mean to you in both life and business?
Yeah. It's funny you asked. I saw that question, and it's funny you asked that. Years ago, when I was a director of stores for a company called Oric Vacuums, I had all my district managers come to a meeting, and I asked that exact question. I said, write down your definition of success. And only 2 people out of, I think there was 27 district managers, I think only 2 of them had what I considered to be the definition of success. And in my personal definition is achieving the goal. So success is not driven by effort. It's not driven by good intentions. It's not driven by a desire. It's driven by execution. And so you can say that you got close. You can say that, hey, 90% of the way there is good, but you can't call it success because, if your goal is to climb Everest and you got within 100 feet of summiting, that's not a success. Is it an achievement? Yes. Could everybody in the world do it? No. But is it summiting? No. And too often I think that people try to equate success with effort or desire or.
So true. Yes. Yep.
So.
Awesome. So in your opinion, why people don't succeed, Tim? I mean, you've been around the block, achieved a lot of, success yourself. What's the difference from someone who is successful in your eye to someone who is not? I mean, do you see some common traits there?
I think one of them is people that are not successful, most of them have some things in common, like they don't know what they want. So we talked about that earlier. You're going to have trouble being successful if you can't pinpoint what it is you're after. You're also not going to be successful if you have to. And this is going to sound weird, and I don't want it to come out weird, but the immediate success of people or your ability to be successful relies on your understanding of what you're doing. And so, for instance, Mark Zuckerberg was a coder. He knew about coding when he started Facebook. He didn't pay people to code Facebook and watch it happen. Part of his success was his understanding of how coding works and putting his own vision in there. And so whether you're going to, like, for instance, if you want to sell your products to retail, you need to try to sell your products to retail also. You have to understand the systematic part of it so that someday when you hire somebody to do that for you, you know what that person is up against, you know what they're doing. And I think a lot of times people get to a certain part and then they just want to give it all away. Like somebody has an idea for an invention, and the first thing they say is, I want to license my idea, or I want to sell my idea. Well, listen, I hate to break it to you, but unless it's time travel, nobody really wants to buy or pay for your idea. They want to see you realize the idea, create it, validate it, sell it, make it a success, and then maybe they'll want to license it from you. So I think there's no, I know I'm all over the board here, but really, here's the bottom line. There's no shortcuts. There's no shortcuts to it. You got to go through it. You got to go through it. You got to do the hard work, whether it's breaking rocks hard or mentally hard or time hard. You got to put the time in. And then you have to be, willing to go through the hard times and stand up. If getting knocked down is going to ruin you, then don't become an entrepreneur, because you're going to get knocked down, and you're going to get, but you got to get back up again and again. And again, those are some cliche things, but so true. So when I see people when I see people fail, or when I see people that aren't as successful, is because, one, they want to give away too much of their business to somebody else to do because they just don't want to do it. They can't be bothered. You have to be your biggest advocate. You have to be the one, keep control of your business until literally you being in control of your business is stopping it from growing and stopping it from scaling. Then you can start to add people, but don't start your business and then hire a bunch of people to try to get it to scale. You put the work in first. Therefore, it's worth more.
Awesome. Now, you sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, Tim, but I just want to bring it back. The world is rapidly changing and will continue to change. And as a parent yourself, what values do you think are important to instill in kids these days, to give them that competitive edge?
Gosh, we could do a whole podcast on that.
Yeah, we probably could, yeah.
Yeah. I think the one thing that you can do for your children, probably more than any other thing, is make their, how do I say this so that it makes sense? Not tie their success to your love or your approval. Tie their success to their own love of themselves and their own approval of themselves. And so here's a quick example of how that might work is, if your child's goal is to get straight A's and they get straight A's, they don't necessarily get a gift for that. And you don't tell them that you're proud of them. You say, aren't you proud of yourself? You set this goal and you achieved it. Aren't you proud of yourself? My daughter wanted to be a competitive ice skater. There's probably I'm not familiar with all the types of sports, but spinning around and jumping around on a little tiny blade on the ice is pretty difficult. And a skater, to get a certain jump, they may fall 1,000 times before they land it for the very first time. And so they can't do it for you because that's not the same as wanting to do it for them. But so often we say, oh, I'm so proud of you, or, oh, here's a candy bar, or here, you did so great. No, aren't you proud of yourself? Yeah. This was your goal. You did it for you, not for me. And once your kids start realizing that they're setting goals and achieving them for themselves, and you're going to love them whether they do it or don't do it, whether they achieve it or don't do it or don't achieve it. And when they're disappointed, You're disappointed for them, not in them. I didn't really care whether my daughter got straight A's or straight C's. It was all about her goal and what she wanted to do. Now, when she set her goals, I would, believe me when I tell you, I would move heaven and earth to help her achieve her goal. I drove to enough ice rinks, flew around the world enough times, helping her, and paid enough money to help her achieve it. But it had to be her goal. It couldn't be mine. Once you decide what your goal is, I'll move heaven and earth to try to help you get there. But in the end, it's you that you're proud of. It's you have to answer to. And the sooner that our kids understand that, man, you want to talk about a game changer? When your kids start understanding that their success is tied to how they see themselves, not how other people see them, and that their parents have this unconditional love for them that's not tied to their performance. It's just inherent because I'm your parent. I love you and I'm there for you. And I'm here to, like I said, you make a decision, you want to turn right, we're turning right. You want to turn left, doesn't mean I'm not going to guide you and say, hey, I don't know, left, I think is probably going to be better. But, my daughter's now, on the downward slope of almost turning 19. So she's an exceptional person. And so I think that probably if we could give our kids one thing is to have them doing it for themselves, not to get the approval, and let them know that they have your approval, whether they win or lose or succeed or fail, you're going to be there to help them with the next challenge and the next challenge. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and definitely does. It's so powerful as well, what you just said. And, I really appreciate how you're so authentic, Tim. Just want to let you know.
Oh, well, thanks.
So what makes you feel inspired or like your best self, Tim? I mean, how do you be the best that you can be?
Yeah, in a profession that I have where 90% of the time you're getting told no, if you talk to 100 buyers, 90 of them are going to say no. And so I'm inspired when anybody says yes, and that one yes will carry me through to the next yes. And to me, it's kind of like playing golf. I don't know if you've ever played golf, but
yes, yep.
I pretty much suck at golf. So, but if I hit one good shot, that's what keeps you coming back. And so when we make a sale, when I see my clients look at their product and send me a picture of their product on the shelf of a retailer, whether it's in this country or another, that's what keeps me going. That's what helps me stay true. When I see their life change, when I know that they got this, I have a client in Canada. This year, we added like $5 or $6 million worth of sales to their business. And for the size of company they were, that's a sizable increase. That's a game changer for them. That allows them to hire some people to do some more R&D, to expand their company a little bit. It's a big deal. That's what keeps me going. And then, like I was saying on my podcast that I was recording right before we jumped on, I haven't done a podcast in I'm shamefully 5 months since November of last year. Yep. And I started to apologize for that. But then I said, there's two things that I told myself when I started my podcast. One, I wouldn't do a podcast if I didn't have anything to say.
Yep.
There's a lot of people out there that will tell you, even if you don't have something to say, consistency is more important. Mm-hmm. Well, it may be more important to gain your listenership, but what's more important to me is my listenership. So if I don't have something to say, I don't want to spend an hour of your time, listen to me babble on about something that doesn't make any sense or is not going to bring you value. Mm-hmm. And then the other thing is that my clients always come first, even above my podcast. And so if I'm busy servicing my clients and helping them do the things that I promised them I would help them do, then my podcast has to take a backseat to that. And so you may not see a podcast for a couple months if I'm super busy.
Yeah.
And then I've added the last thing to it now, which is the VIP group, which to me is probably, I don't think there's a better, if you want to get your product into retail or you're actively trying to get your product into retail, there's no better place for you than on that, in that group because of the things we talk about. So,
Awesome.
I don't know if that answered your question.
No, definitely.
I can't even remember what the question was now.
You are very inspiring, Tim. That's what the question's about. How do you get inspired? So I actually saw this question. It's actually a question that Richard Branson asked Sinek. I'm pretty sure it was. So I'm going to ask this question to you, Tim. If you were starting a business right now, what problem will you be setting out to solve and why?
Well, I think there's people already trying to solve it, but I think if I was, first of all, just to let you know that if I could go back and do my career all over again, I would be a chef. I would probably, yeah. So there's two things I'm really passionate about. One is I love to cook. I do a lot of the cooking for my family. And so I would love to go to culinary school and learn the ins and outs of that. And then the other thing I'm really passionate about is, and this is going to seem weird depending on how you're in Australia, so weapons aren't really allowed there, but I'm a big knife collector. So I'm very into knives and all types of knives. And I would love to be a knife maker. So if I could do it all over again, I would be a knife making chef probably.
There you go. There you go.
Right? Make my own chef knives and stuff like that. If I wanted to solve a problem, the problem in the world that I'm most passionate about is trash in the ocean, probably. And so I really would want to figure out how to make any product have a life cycle that is not harmful to the ocean or really the environment. And I think that if we put some effort into it, there's a lot of things that could be made that once they go into a landfill, pretty quickly they dissolve down and it's not that big of a deal. There's already people out there that make plastic bottles that are biodegradable, and so it's just our ability to want to do it. But when I see the amount of trash that's in the ocean, I'm a big, I love the ocean. I love to swim. I love anything to do with the water. So that's, I guess, a passion for mine. So I would make a lot of money being a chef and a knife maker, and then I'd put that money into ocean trash conservation. There you go.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So what's exciting for Tim Bush at the moment? I mean, what are you doing to position yourself moving forward?
Yeah. So what's exciting is we're working on a comprehensive course. I know everybody and their brother got a course, right? But I don't know if you know Steven Selikoff, right? I think he been on your podcast. Yeah. Yes. He's been after me for a whole year to write a book. So I may do that, but I really want to put together a comprehensive course on how to get your products into retail, kind of an A to absolute Z course that people could go through and really have a solid handle on it, because I think people's goals are wrong, and I talked about that on my podcast. Most people's goals when getting into retail is, I want to talk to a buyer. I need to talk to a buyer. How can I get to talk to a buyer? Well, there's so many questions that you need to answer before you ever think about talking to a buyer. And so I have a passion for making sure that people are, especially international companies. I just did a talk on pricing for 180 Brazilian companies. And 2 weeks before that, I did a talk on the mindset of a U.S. retail buyer for about 250 companies in the UK. So I have a real passion for international companies that wanting to break into the U.S. market and teaching them how to do it. So those things to me are exciting. And then, like I said, providing my family and extended family, and at some point my daughter and her husband and her grandkids, some evergreen products that whether I'm here or not, they're sellable, they're relevant, and they can go on and generate revenue for my family and grandkids. So, yeah, so that's kind of what's passionate. I've worked from home for 12 years now. And so, working from home during the pandemic, not a big deal for me. I've done it for the last 12 years already. So, people ask me all the time when I see them, what's going on? What's exciting? Well, nothing really is exciting. I'm working, that's exciting. But, we're pretty much staying low key and just, luckily my family, we all like each other. So, yes. Being home more together is always a good thing for us, not a hardship. Yep. So that's good. Definitely. But, I guess, I guess that's what's really it. And then, that is cool. And then trying to show people that you got to move forward, right? So many times people say, well, I'm going to wait and see how this works out, or I'm going to wait till the pandemic's over. I'm going to wait until, the restrictions are gone. You can't wait. Whatever it is you want to do, start doing it. Because waiting is basically death. You're either moving your business forward or in some ways it's going backwards. Even if it's standing still, that's still moving backwards, because there are other people that are moving their business forward. Yes, and so neutral is as good as falling down the hill backwards. I mean, so, your podcast is to inventors and entrepreneurs. You got to be moving forward, even if all that means is you read a book. Yeah. You made yourself more knowledgeable in some way, shape, or form. That's still moving forward with making yourself more knowledgeable. So don't get stuck in that. Well, I'm gonna play this video game because I got nothing else to do. Instead, read a book. And I'm just as guilty as anybody else. That's my guilty pleasure. I know that wasn't a question of yours, but my guilty pleasure is Call of Duty.
Call of Duty. I used to love that game.
Yeah. I still play on mobile. That's my guilty pleasure. Sometimes people say, what's your guilty pleasure? That's it.
Cool. Now I just got a few more questions, Tim, before we wrap up. And I asked these 3 questions to all my guests, and it's just very interesting what comes back. And the first is, what is your legacy? I mean, what do you want to be remembered for?
And I don't know whether I'll be remembered for this or not, but if you're asking me, what do I want to be remembered for? I want to be remembered for, if you came in contact with me, you left better than you were before you came in contact with me. Yep. I don't know whether I certainly know that that's not always been true for me. But today I want to, whether we meet personally, we go out to dinner as friends, you have a meeting with me as a consultation. I want to be remembered as, I talked to him one time, but it was a great talk, and I left better than I was.
I love that one. Awesome. Now, the second one is, if you can have a billboard with anything on it, what would it be and why?
You take that out of Tim Ferriss's book?
No. Maybe
tools. That's one of his 11 questions in Tools of Titans, which I love that book. So I mean, because I read that book, I already had my what I would put on my billboard, which is start your own gig now.
Yes, what you said earlier. Yep.
Yeah. I think. I mean, it broke my heart when I realized that, my dad worked for an airline for his whole career. So he was in the Air Force, and then he went and he worked for an airline. And other than getting laid off early when I was like 1 year old, he pretty much worked for the same airline, even though it got bought, pretty much for his whole career. Yeah. Having a career that spans a lifetime like that is so rare these days. It's not common anymore. And so I think that you have to, just like when you're going to the doctor, you have to be in charge of your own patient care. You have to be a good patient, and you can't just rely on the doctor's going to know everything. I think with your career, you have to be in charge and understand anything can happen. When you're not in charge of your own destiny and somebody else is in charge of it, anything can happen at that point. And so start your own gig now. That way, if everything goes south, maybe you're still making a couple grand a month on your own gig, and you can ramp that up if you want to.
Wow.
So,
yeah, awesome. And what superpower do you wish you had, and why?
Well, I mean, I want to be able to breathe underwater. And I don't know if that's the kind of superpower you're meaning, but
Aquaman, yes.
Yeah. I want to be able to breathe underwater only just because I love the water and I like to scuba dive, and I would love to be able to do it without a tank and all those things. But yeah, so I mean, if you're talking like X-Men type superpowers, then yeah, that one. Otherwise,
no, that's what I'm talking about, Tim.
All right, then that's it. Then I want to be able to breathe underwater.
Awesome. Now, totally remarkable, Tim. Unfortunately, we have to work towards wrapping up, and super mindful of your time. Phenomenal journey, shares, and words of wisdom. Really appreciate your authenticity and willingness to share. I just have two final questions. The first is, where can people find out more about yourself? TLB Consulting, your podcast.
Yeah, so it's pretty easy. You can find everything by going to T as in Tom, L as in Larry, B as in boy, consulting.com. You can reach my podcast from there. Everything that we do is on that website. You can also just reach my podcast website if you typed in ontheshelfnow.com. My podcast is also on every possible podcast platform that you can think of. So you can find me there as well. But if you want to find me, tlbconsulting.com is basically the hub of everything.
Awesome. I'll definitely put some links in the show notes below. And secondly, what parting words of wisdom would you like to impart for our listeners?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not super familiar with the journey that your listeners are on, or what they're going through. But I guess the parting words are keep going. Just keep going. Yeah. Don't give up. If it's worth doing, don't give up. And if you're struggling, find some people that you can talk to that are on the same type of journey that you're on, so that you guys can be a support for each other. Because there's nothing sadder, there's nothing more tragic than having a great idea or a great opportunity, and then you quit just before it happened, or just before you were about to break through. Yeah. So so keep going.
Powerful. Again, incredible insights and learnings into the world of retail and your world as an entrepreneur, Tim. Thanks again. Really appreciate your time. Stay well, be well, and take care. Yeah,
Tech, thanks so much. Great to be on here, and we'll
I hope to see you in person one day when flights are a little bit more frequent.
Indeed, yeah.
All right. I hope you've enjoyed this podcast. You can find me at turn-x.com and also on social media at iam.tacklee. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you in the next episode. If you're enjoying this podcast, please do make sure you subscribe and take a minute to leave us a review. Thank you.